Welcome to r/Malicious Compliance, where a student strips down in front of the principal. In high school, I was working at the local Home Depot as a head cashier. I kept track of all the active registers and made sure things ran smoothly. I held this position for quite some time, 1 to 2 years, and enjoyed it pretty well. Customers were nice, and my coworkers were mostly craftsmen and gardeners, all with interesting stories to share. Before we go further, let me explain something. I am allergic to nearly every form of pollen. I mean every form. I take allergy medication, but even then, if I'm in close proximity to flowers for too long, under 30 minutes, I'll begin to break out in hives and throw up most of the time. So after about 3 months working in the winter, the spring season was upon us, the worst season for my allergies. One day, about 3 of our garden section cashiers called off sick. They're pretty reliable people, so I had no problem finding people to cover for them. As I come to my manager to inform them of the position changes, my manager looks at me and says, "You can handle the garden section on your own, can't you?" I inform my manager that I could cover it for at most 15 minutes before my allergies flare up and I'll have to leave. He states, "We don't have any documents on file that state you're not fit to work in the garden section. So, unless you come to me with a doctor's note stating your allergies, I could give less of a flip." I don't know who pissed in his Cheerios that morning, but I complied, saying, "I wouldn't be sure of what you're asking. You want me to work in a section which is hazardous to my health instead of placing equally capable employees in that section?" "Did I stutter?" he said. "Okay, sure," I said. I make my way down to the garden section, and immediately my eyes are stinging. I decide that I'm going to stick it out for my boss's sake, no matter how terrible my service becomes. The first 10 minutes are pretty uneventful, but then a customer asks me about the rash on my arms. The Home Depot doesn't care about my allergies, I say, as I don't have official paperwork. This customer looks extremely concerned, asking for my manager's name. At this point, I was feeling nausea hit me. I throw up in the trash can at the register, turn back to smile as well as I could, and say, "I work under Bob." The customer reassures me that I'll be okay and tells me I should head home. Turns out that this guy, Nick, was a higher up at the Home Depot's regional management and was my boss's boss. So naturally, I comply with the chain of command and head to the locker room to pack up. As I'm packing, Bob comes in, fuming and cursing, telling me I have no right to leave yet and that my shift isn't over for another 5 hours. I simply say, "Nick told me to go home." Bob's face gets redder as he threatens to fire me, saying I was lying and tells me to go back out. I comply, knowing that I'll see Nick on my way out. I pass Nick, still in the orange apron, and he asks me where I'm going. I say that Bob told me to go back to work. Nick's expression goes from concerned to furious as he takes my apron from me and tells me I'll be paid for the full shift and to go home. I come into work the next day to see that Bob's nameplate has been removed from the office. I ask our HR rep what happened, and apparently, after I'd left, Nick stormed Bob's office and proceeded to perform an audit on all of his past employee complaints. This guy had been throwing out complaints for the past 5 years. Needless to say, there was an opening for the store management position, and I was given a week's vacation for my troubles. My satisfaction was huge. Our next Reddit post is from Mermaid Glitter Girl. This did happen about 15 years ago, but I can't help snickering about it from time to time. In high school, I was a pretty mild-mannered kid. I came from a very strict household, and a call from the school was absolutely unacceptable. I also wanted approval from authority figures, as I rarely got it at home. So I kept quiet, did good work, and was generally well liked by my teachers. Like I said, it was a strict household and my outfits were closely inspected for modesty by my very conservative parents. If it passed at home, it wasn't going to get me in trouble. I tried hard to fit in with other kids though and found that wearing a layer underneath made regular outfits past the home dress code. So I still got to wear distressed jeans, but you could see black leggings instead of my knees. Not a huge deal, and it helped me feel better about my appearance, at least socially anyway. As trends were set, leggings became super popular. Finally, I was ahead and on point with my style. Some girls did begin to abuse the system though. School dress code required skirts to be no shorter than 3 inches, 1 index card above the knee. The standard was suddenly lots of tiny denim mini skirts with leggings. So the school cracked down and said leggings were no longer allowed under skirts. Of course, since I had different home rules, I didn't even own a skirt that short. My skirts had to reach the knees, which was 3 inches longer than the school requirement. I didn't even mention the new school rule at home because I didn't think it was an issue. So I get super cute wearing my knee-length denim skirt and leggings, as it was still trendy and a bit chilly out. I pass home inspection and head off to school. Nothing was said in my first 3 classes, but like I said, I was a good kid and always well covered. One of the super mean teachers, not even mine, just one standing outside her door, spotted my skirt and leggings in the hall and grabbed me and marched me down to the office. I knew of the rule change, but I truly thought it wouldn't be a big deal since I wasn't wearing a miniskirt. She shoved me in and yelled something about a dress code violation and left to return to her class. I was called in, thinking the principal, who I didn't know well, would laugh with me about her unreasonableness. Boy, was I wrong. He screamed up and down how I was dressed inappropriately and he would be calling my parents to come get me and take me home to change. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. As I stood and turned around showing him my clothes, I tried to argue that my skirt met code and my leggings covered more. I even tried to explain that my parents would take it out on me in an aggressive manner. He wasn't going to hear any of it. I had to think fast. Cue malicious compliance. While he was still looking for the number to call, I kicked off my shoes and began wriggling the leggings down and off, right there in his office in front of him. Since my skirt was long enough, I shoved my pants in my bag and stated that now he has no reason to call my parents. I was fully compliant with the dress code of the school. As he stared with his mouth agape, I could see him turning red while trying to figure out how to deal with me. He ended up just yelling, "Get out of my office! Get to class!" Never have I felt so relieved. OP, that was nothing compared to the relief the principal felt that no one walked into his office at that exact moment. Oh man, that would have been embarrassing and probably gotten him fired to boot. Our next Reddit post is from Timmy94. Right now, we're stuck in a massive heat wave in South Africa and I'm dying a slow, painful, hot death. Anyway, on warm days, I like to walk around the house in my bra and shorts because you know it's cool and comfortable. Also, we have 2 kids in the house, a boy 9 and a girl 11. My mom hates this. She feels I can absolutely not walk around the house in my bra and shorts when there's kids here. So I complied. I took off my bra, which is a sports bra mind you, so it literally covers basically my whole back. And no boobies are out anywhere or even my chest. There's not even cleavage. What I did do though was put on my bikini top, which basically only covers my nipples and small portions of my boobs. My back is completely open with just a thin strap around my neck and another thin strap around my middle back area. She gave me an extremely evil eye and told me to change and put a shirt on. So I just said, "Mom, it's not a bra, it's a bikini, and I can walk around with it." Needless to say, I won that argument, and my mom stormed off in a huff. And bonus, it's actually cooler with the bikini on. Our son isn't even bothered and just took his shirt off, and our daughter put her bikini top on too, which infuriated my mom even more. All in all, a good day. Then, Much Difference adds his post below. Ha, I did something similar ages ago. There were a small number of things you'd have to walk to the end of our driveway for. Getting the morning paper, taking out and bringing up the trash, checking the mailbox, etc. If I was doing this early in the morning, I'd sometimes do it in my bathrobe. This thick, fluffy thing that tied up to my neck and went down to my knees. For some reason, my mom had this idea that bathrobes are inherently sexual. So she'd always gripe at me for doing this. One week, I decided to stop being inappropriate and threw on my bikini to grab the mail. She stopped complaining about the bathrobe after that. Our next Reddit post is from Jangleberry112. I worked at a small, less than 100 people video game studio about a decade ago. The studio did mostly console ports for larger publishers and was notorious for severely underpaying its employees and for screwing employees out of contracts so that the boss could make a profit, which he never shared with the company. When I became a manager, I tried to lobby for higher pay for my hourly workers as the pay was $8 an hour in 2011. And there were 3 guys on my team so broke they were literally living in their car in the parking lot. The boss, who was also the co-owner of the studio, frankly said to me, "I will continue to pay $8 an hour until I can't find anyone willing to work for $8 an hour." He was also notorious for bringing on unpaid interns, making them do the work of a full employee, promising them employment at the end of the internship, then breaking his promise. The boss was notorious for being a tightwad. He excluded hourly employees from company meals during overtime and would claim he was feeling generous when he would let the hourlies eat after all the other employees had already cleared out 2/3 of the food, and what was left was stale and congealed. At one point, a contract with a larger company fell through, and Boss Man let half of the studio know about their layoffs by holding a meeting for them in the parking lot and letting employees know that their jobs were gone, their passes to the doors were disabled, and they could expect their belongings mailed back to them in a week. He let some employees go back in to get things like wallets and card keys, but under security escort. The time comes for a release party for a game that got released before this mass layoff happened. The boss man emails out to the whole company letting everyone know how generous he's feeling. That he's going to allow all of the laid off employees on the project to come to the release party of the game they made. It was at a swanky place in town known for high-end cocktails, among other things. The boss man writes in his email invite that there was a, quote, $15/drink limit. What he meant to say was that each person at the party had a $15 limit for drinks for the night total. What the bar and everyone else interprets correctly is that there was a $15 per drink limit. The employees stifled giggles as they read the email invite that was also sent as instructional to the bar, and excitedly exchanged text messages and emails with the laid-off employees. The boss man is also notorious for not showing up to his own parties until 2 hours in. Cue the night of the party. Everyone shows up bright and early, and as soon as the party officially starts, everyone swarms the bar asking for the most expensive cocktails and liquor the bar had to offer. People were downing French 75s and Ramos Gin Fizzes and 35-year-old shots of Glenfiddich. Every employee and former employee was 5 to 6 fancy cocktails in and 3 sheets to the wind by the time the boss man shows up. He saunters in to cheers and pats on the back from laid-off employees, who are so drunk by now that they probably saw 3 of him. He smiles and waves magnanimously, thinking the former and current employees were drowning their sorrows at their own cost. He wanders up to the bar to check in with the barkeep and see what the damage was so far. After 20 seconds of conversation, the smile from his face had disappeared completely and had been replaced with a scowl. Words were spoken, the barkeep disappears and comes back with a manager. Even tenser words were exchanged with the manager, who disappeared into the back office and then returns with a piece of paper, presumably a copy of whatever contract the boss man had made for the party. The bar and drinking partiers were in the right. The company at the time was not financially able to handle the price of the drinks, and Boss Man was able to pay the cost out of his own pocket. Sadly, he wasn't able to afford a Porsche and a BMW that year. The company had to shutter about a year after this event. Then, OP posts an update to FAQs. Will you name the studio or Boss Man? No, the studio was never very well known, and Boss Man got what he deserves. His last LinkedIn update showed that he was giving motivational talks for WeWork, so yeah, he's gone and gotten himself screwed. I'm wondering who was rubbing their hands together in glee more, the employees or the bar owner when he realized how much money he was about to make. Our next Reddit post is from Ratchet. This happened 15 years ago at high school. During breaks at school, I'd be hanging around with my mates and there was this girl, nicknamed Flea because she was small and annoying. She was quite the annoyance, but we largely ignored her. One day, it got too much and I poured my water bottle over her. Unfortunately, there was a teacher, and of course, she saw what happened. Cue me being sent to the principal's office. The principal was naturally rather unimpressed by my behavior and told me to write an essay on what I'd done and why it was inappropriate, indicating that I'd received detention at the end of it. Now the malicious compliance. Instead of writing the one-page essay requested, I wrote 3 pages, detailing the months of annoyance and abuse and how we were constantly trying to avoid her, even moving locations where we hung out. I detailed how she would jump on our backs trying to knock us off balance, causing us to fall several times, pull our hair, and the pièce de résistance of the essay, the dozens of times she tried to grab and kick our nuts. I got really good at catching approaching feet with my thighs. I handed in my essay and waited for them to tell me how much detention I'd get. The principal came out of his office, said I was free to go, and told the teacher to bring the girl in. She ended up getting detention, a call to her parents, and she didn't bother us again. Bonus story. Similar vein, another girl I poured drink on, this time red fizzy on white school uniform. She was constantly stealing our hacky sack. So one day, I saw her run for it as it fell. I stepped on it so she couldn't get it. She was trying to wrench it out from under my foot, so I poured most of my can of Red Miranda slowly on her back. I poured half my drink out before she ran away. Nothing came of that one. Although I figured out years later she actually liked me, so I screwed that one up. Then, I don't deserve my cat contributes down in the comments. I had a girl in high school that kept touching my butt in the lunch line. Like, it didn't feel like it was a I like him thing. It felt more like a he's smaller than me, I'm dominant thing. Not that it matters. Sexual harassment is sexual harassment, no matter the context or the way it's carried out. One day, after I had enough, I yelled at her to stop touching my butt. She replied with the oh so mature, "What are you, gay?" So I snapped back with, "No, I just don't fancy farm animals." She got ultra red pissed off and began to yell at me, but I just ignored it and started singing Old MacDonald's Farm. Eventually, half the lunch line joined in. She stormed off and had to deal with people asking her how Old MacDonald was doing for a couple of months. She thankfully didn't harass me again. A very small part of me sometimes feel bad, but I mostly feel that she deserved it. If you can't take it, don't dish it out. That was r/maliciouscompliance, and if you like this video, hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos every single day.